Hi, this is Jed Wunderli, and we are here to discuss the abysmal game yesterday. I have my beautiful daughter with me. This is Jordan Hallman, and she, just a little measure of background, she was a student equipment manager for the University of Utah, so she got to work with about every coach that's on staff right now, with maybe the exception of Coach Bumpus, the wide receiver coach. And knows a fair number of the players, very familiar with football. She's not your average football fan. She's very into it and a big fan, and so I thought it would be a fun thing for us to discuss, as hurtful and painful as it is, the loss from yesterday. So Jordan, you want to start off by giving me just your overall opinion of the game?
Yeah, I said going into the game that we were the better team, but that BYU wanted it more, and so that would level things out. But after watching the game, I think not only did they want it more, but I thought they were the better team. And I think they looked like the better team throughout the game, which is super painful to say, but I'm not going to be one of those fans that blame it on the refs or blame it on a bad play or anything like that. I truly think that BYU did better last night. And so it's unfortunate, and I hope that we can swing back, but I do think we just weren't as good. There was a lot of things that we need to fix. A lot of weaknesses opened up after that.
Yeah, I would concur. I think BYU definitely outplayed us on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and Kyle in his post-game press conference talked about being beat on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and it was not pretty. In fact, I was wondering throughout the game, as the game progressed, I couldn't remember that we had a tackle for a loss, a TFL. I couldn't remember that I knew we didn't have a sack. I think maybe we had one or two QB hurries throughout the whole game. And really, it was just Jaron was very comfortable in the pocket. Never had any kind of pressure that he had to, feel panicked about.
He had all the time in the world.
Yes, all the time in the world. And when he did run, we didn't contain the edges, and he was able to get outside and run for some pretty big plays. And thankfully, he stepped out of bounds that one time that he made it to the end zone untouched.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I feel like those kind of things, I feel like BYU helped us more than we helped ourselves almost. Like, it was BYU's penalties and BYU going out of bounds on those plays and stuff like that kept us in the game almost. If they didn't have those, if they didn't make those mistakes that they had, I think it would have been an even worse off game for Utah. I think the one thing we did do half decent on is penalties, because I feel like while we still had a lot, we had more usually, especially from our offensive line.
Yeah. It was not a lot of bright spots. I think Mekhi Bernard showed that he was definitely RB1 for us, and in spite of, not because of, but in spite of the poor play on the offensive line, I think Mekhi did an amazing job. And and he had several good runs for distance, but that touchdown run that he had
was great.
He trucked a couple of people. He broke a few other tackles, and he dragged one guy into the end zone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was awesome. Those were the few highlights of the game. I also think their punter, BYU's punter, was really, really good, which didn't allow Britton Covey to do his thing. But when Britton Covey could do his thing, he did his thing. He got us really good field position to start off, but then our offense just couldn't get us through. But I think I'm going to miss him, but I think Britton Covey did his thing when he could, but BYU's punter also did really well.
I noticed a huge lack of participation, no participation trophies going to the Utah wide receiving corps, because, I'm sure they made a couple of catches. I know Britton made one for like 5 or 6 yards, and, I think
but the others,
Enos had like one catch.
But then Solomon made a mistake of going out of bounds and then coming back in. So their wide receivers were not great last night at all. I think our tight ends were the more reliable ones.
And they didn't even start using the tight ends until like the second quarter. You know?
I think it was even like the third.
Well, no, because the first touchdown was, we had a 5-yard play to Keithy, and then the very next play was his 20-yard touchdown.
I love Keithy. I think they need to use him more.
A lot more.
I love Brant Keithy.
And Kincaid. Mm-hmm. Kincaid had a great first game, and he's got great hands, and he had, one good catch and run for like 25, 30 yards or whatever, but I think that was maybe the only time he was targeted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had some dumb mistakes. Like, we had that interception, which I think Charlie Brewer is a better quarterback. Because the play before, I think it was the play before, he threw the ball out of bounds because he knew he wasn't going to get it off in time. And so he threw it out of bounds. That was smart. But then the very next play, he had an interception. Or it was like, at least the play, like, it was very close. And I said, come on, just throw it out of bounds again, Charlie.
Right.
Gosh, we were better than that. And then we had a fumble like the next drive after that. Like, it was just not okay. We need to work on that ball security as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I like what Kyle Whittingham said in the post-game press conference. He said that we are not giving up on Tavion by any means. Tavion has a lot of great raw ability. He's got fantastic size. He's got world-class speed, especially for a guy his size. And he just, like Kyle said, he needs to work on ball security. And they do work on it with him every day in practice. And he just needs to get better to where he's consistently protecting the ball, and fumbles are not a weekly thing. With that said, our next opponent is San Diego State. And San Diego State played BYU's opponent from a week ago, which was Arizona, and San Diego State handled Arizona very handily, which makes me very nervous for next week. But if we're going to salvage a season, and salvage sounds kind of like a downer kind of a thing, since we've only got one loss and we have 10 games in front of us, but the way we lost yesterday, where what is normally our strengths were so dominated by our opponent, the team down south, the in-state game, whatever you want to call it. I'm a little nervous about San Diego State and the season in general. So what are your thoughts about us being able to rebound against San Diego State?
Yeah, I'm very nervous. I could see us losing this game, in all honesty. I'm honestly nervous to play Arizona, which Arizona was, picked to finish dead last in the pack.
Arizona got more yards against BYU, like 76 more yards than we did.
And their score was closer, too.
By 1 point, yes.
But still.
24-16 versus 26-17.
So I'm nervous, honestly. Like, Arizona did better. But, it makes me nervous for the whole rest of the season if, we're not doing as good against BYU as Arizona. I think we're going to have to make changes. I think the thing that keeps us in a rut is that we say we have these good players. We have Charlie Brewer, who's great. And we have, all of these good players, but we do the same things that we have been. Okay, well, let's use their strengths now. Let's pass the ball more. Let's stop. Okay, if we don't have a good offensive line, let's not run the ball up in the middle. So
yet we're supposed to have a good offensive line this year, and our defensive line was supposed to be solid. And if they were as good as they were supposed to be, how come they got dominated so much last night?
Yeah, I think we need to have a reality check. Maybe our offensive line is not as good as we think it is. And in that case, let's not run the ball up the middle so many times. Let's go to the side. Let's pass the ball a little more. We have Charlie Brewer. He is accurate. He is good. Let's throw it more. Let's use his skill. I think we're so stuck in that Utah running game and we have and we have good running backs, but I also think let's try to expand.
Well, and Witt has said that in order to be an elite team, in order to play with all the big dogs, you need to have an elite passing attack. And
I just haven't seen that
a whole bunch of times this year. And
I just don't see the change in that.
So it's kind of funny that we passed less yesterday by quite a bit.
I think we get scared and we just run. And And I think that we need to not do that. Like,
Well,
let's
and in
pass
the press
the ball.
conference last week, Witt said, while you can get chunk yardage in the running game, most of your chunk yardage plays comes passing.
Yep. And I think we did see that. I think the most yardage we got, and like when we were moving down the field a little yesterday, that was when we were passing, but except for on like the few plays that were
with the
good.
exception of that one long run that
which
Makai
was
had.
a huge exception.
He had, a couple of 15, 20-yard runs, but he had that 40
But
or
most
50
of the time, I think our passing game was actually more consistently better. And consistently provided some yardage that would get us a first down. And so I just think we need to make changes in that way as well. We need to not just stick to the same old Utah team, because guess what? We have new players, we have new strengths, we have new talents. Let's use those. We can't just stick to the same old things. We're not going to improve or anything. And I think we need to make a lot of adjustments just regarding our defense, our defensive line. I think our corners need to they need to do a better job at coverage. I just think we have a lot of work to do. I think our defense was better in the first quarter than it was in
Puka Nacua definitely owned Clark Phillips last night.
Yeah,
he had the size advantage, and he's a heck of a player. So we wanted him when he was in high school. So it's not like he's a slouch. Now, so what's your prediction for San Diego State?
As a Utah fan, my prediction and my hope is that Utah will win. As a realist, I think San Diego State is going to win.
Yeah. I'm hoping, with all hope, that we are going to have such a sour taste in our mouths after not only a loss, but a loss where we did not play well at any single position group. I don't think any one of our position groups won the battle against BYU last night. And I hope that has such a sour taste in our mouth that we develop, we can go one of two ways. We can either step up and say, that's not happening again, and go in with a killer instinct and just an absolute laser focus that gets us to where we are very prepared and we play with twice the passion that BYU played with against us yesterday, and we dominate San Diego State. I don't think we're going to dominate them. I think we can beat them, because I think we are a lot better than what we played like yesterday, and the players in the press conference yesterday and Witts all said that, and of course they better believe in themselves, but or we're really lost. But so I'm going to say, the realist in me thinks that we could very well lose it, but I have got to hope that we cannot lose to two non-Power 5 teams. We've got
BYU is now kind of in a Power 5 team.
Yeah, the Big 12 isn't really the Big 12 with
Texas and Oklahoma
leaving. And you look at their TV markets and the kind of revenue that they get from them, I would say they're much closer to a G6 league than a Power 5.
They're definitely not what they. Well, they won't be what they used to be.
Right.
That's for sure.
By a long shot. They might be. They're probably closer to being a Power 5 in basketball than in football. So
absolutely.
Well, anyway, that's all we have for today. Hopefully, Jordan will come on the show again, and maybe even her husband sometime. He was just a little bit too distraught and was afraid of what he might say. But they have a cool podcast that I think you all should go and check out. Jordan, you want to tell them where they can find it?
Yeah, if you go on Spotify and just search Joe space verse space Joe, so that's J-O space V-S space J-O-E, you will find it.
And you have the thing on Instagram.
Yeah, we have the thing on Instagram too. So it's the same thing, but without spaces. So just Joe versus Joe without spaces, same spelling and everything on Instagram. We just do weekly polls and stuff in correlation with our podcast on the Instagram.
Yeah, so if you go onto the Instagram, they have like top 5 games and who you think's going to win. And so you can kind of vote and get involved that way and have a little fun. And, college football's back, baby. Let's go. Go Utes!